Today we want to talk about the World Mental Health Day. There's a lot of misunderstanding about mental health. Many people make fun of those people who are struggling, thinking that they did something wrong. That is why they have mental health issues. And unfortunately, that information is not true. The roots of poor mental health run very deep. They're actually more than one generation deep. What happens is that the sort of environment one was produced in all the way from the womb determines how one's mental health will be throughout life. For example, when my mother was expecting and she had probably a health condition, she may have been taking medication which was not compatible with pregnancy. It ended up harming the baby she was carrying, making them vulnerable to certain issues later in life. It may be that the mother experienced some massive traumatic event. She may have lost a loved one. She may have been in a war situation. She may have been abused. She may have been a victim of a crime. Something happened to her which caused excess stress hormones in the system, which affected the baby that was developing inside her. It can be a situation that happened during delivery, that the mother had prolonged labor, or there were complications and the baby suffered birth injuries. There are very many things which predispose people to poor mental health. It is not about here and now. So when you see that person who is being called toxic, who is being called narcissistic, who is being called abusive, who ends up dying by suicide, or who ends up killing loved ones or killing someone else, or being harmful to other people, it's not about here and now. It's not choices they have made. It is factors which are much beyond what they have control of that shaped them that way. There are cases that have roots in postnatal factors. What happened in early childhood? Maybe parents used to fight. The child was exposed to domestic violence from a young age. Probably the family lived in a violent area where there's a lot of violence in the neighborhood, such that the child was exposed to violence from a young age, was traumatized. It could be that there was war going on when the child was young. It could be that the parents differed and parted ways. The child went from having two parents to having one parent, or even no parent in their lives, as they were taken to be cared for by extended family members, grandparents, aunties, uncles. They now no longer had the parents that they were used to. They were now with the other people they were not familiar with. It could be that the family relocated to some place. The child was torn away from the familiar environment, the familiar friends, the familiar school. Everything was disrupted. Sometimes it's a parent died, so the child no longer had one parent in their lives. In some cases, even both parents die. So many things happen that affect the way the brain develops, and then later, when that person faces the normal challenges of life, probably relationship issues, probably bullying, probably peer pressure, just the normal challenges of life, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, then this person just loses it. That is what triggers the poor mental health issues. The issue of the root cause of mental health problems is rarely addressed, and that is why we would want to address it as we commemorate this year's World Mental Health Day. Today I would like to just give a message of encouragement to families who have loved ones who are struggling with poor mental health. Yes, it is not very easy. It can be trying at times, it can be exhausting. We are all together in this because poor mental health is cross-cutting. It affects just about every family on earth. Even the ones who may not actually know that they are affected, they just think that they have issues, conflict, substance use, and other issues in the family. They do not know that those are actually mental health issues. So you are not alone. It is very many people, millions of people around the world have the struggles, and do not feel like you're struggling alone. I know we have a long way to go as a nation before we can have the sort of care that makes the burden lighter for families and caregivers. We are not yet there, but I know a lot is happening and things will continue to get better. It is important to understand that people who struggle with poor mental health, they did not choose to struggle. These problems have been generations in making, and we all need to be very understanding, have a lot of compassion for the people who struggle, because it is not their choice. They did not choose to be that way, and they need our support, they need our compassion, they need our care, they need our encouragement, and together we can make the load lighter, not just for them but for the families and for everyone. We can pull resources together, we can educate ourselves, we can empower ourselves, and we can be in a position to make the load lighter. Just like learning self-care, learning self-help strategies that we incorporate into our day-to-day lives, that will make the burden lighter for the people who are struggling and their families and caregivers. All is not lost. There's a lot we can do to make life better. There are people who have gone on to live productive lives, to live healthy lives, despite having struggled with poor mental health issues in the past. Depending on how severe the situation is, it is possible to still live a productive life. We live in the age of information. There's a lot of information out there that can empower us to make life better for our loved ones. There's so much we can incorporate into our day-to-day lives that can make the burden lighter. We have many encouraging stories of people who have risen up from a state of struggle to go on to live a healthy life. I personally battled depression for many years, and I was able to learn how to improve my life. I was able to learn how to address the root cause of my struggle with depression and how to make my life better. It was a journey. There were struggles, but I was able to turn my life around. I was able to go on to live a productive life. Many other people have done that. It is important to understand that one can rise up from the ashes and build something beautiful, go on to be productive, go on to be a blessing to others, go on to make a useful contribution to this life. As we commemorate this year's World Mental Health Day, and as we endeavor to promote mental health for all, we are a developing nation. We may not have highly qualified experts who will be sufficient for the entire population, but there's a lot we can do by working with people at the grassroots, people who run community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, community health volunteers. A lot of people at the grassroots, even at the dispensary level, can be trained, supervised, and empowered to meet the needs of the people on the ground. There's so much that can be done. We have healthcare professionals, people who are trained to provide mental health services, who are even out of job. It would be very, very helpful if the issue of mental health is given the importance it deserves, whereby those people who have been trained that they have a role they can play to improve mental health services, that they got absorbed into the healthcare system, they got empowered to work with other healthcare professionals to identify and support people who are struggling with these issues. But what happens is that many people who have poor mental health, they overuse the medical services. They have aches here and there. They suffer all kinds of issues which take them to health facilities. They go to health facilities with headaches, with gastrointestinal problems, with insomnia, with all kinds of issues, the backache, poor maternal health outcomes. They go to healthcare facilities for many issues, but the root cause of their struggles is normally never identified. They just keep on going. They go with this symptom, they are given something to address that symptom. They come next time with some other symptom, they are given something to address that. Let us as a nation prioritize mental health, because if we don't incorporate mental health into primary health care, what happens is a lot of people will go to waste, a lot of people will suffer, they will not live to their full potential, a lot of resources will be spent as people overuse the medical services, while addressing the root cause, which is poor mental health, would have saved them from the repeated visits to healthcare facilities, from the repeated use of over-the-counter medications, and eventually saved them from long-term harm of overuse of medications that they didn't really need to. They were just managing symptoms without understanding that their poor mental health is what needed to be addressed. We also need to be proactive about helping ourselves. Let us not feel helpless, always saying serikali saidia. We are waiting for the government to come and solve our problem. We are waiting for the government to come and help us. Let us also try to help ourselves. We are living in the age of information. Information now is accessible. There are professionals around the world who have very helpful resources. Some of them may not be in our region, but their information is accessible. Be proactive. Go out there. Look for information that is helpful. Look at research findings and what is being done out there. Get information about the tools other people are using, even for community mental health care. Find out what can help you to make the burden lighter for yourself, for your family, for your community. If you are a grassroots organization, be proactive in getting information that can make your organization more effective in addressing the real issues on the ground, adequately addressing the issues rather than just managing symptoms, whereby the people never really get lasting help. Just come, the symptoms are managed, they go back, they come again. Let us get out of this cycle. Let us be proactive. Let us not also limit ourselves, that unless we have certain professionals, certain experts in our locality, then we are helpless. No, even those ones who are thousands of kilometers away from us, even in other continents, we can access their information, and we can use that information to educate ourselves, to empower ourselves, to become more competent to handle the issues of mental health.